Welcome back, everybody. Apologies for the technical issues. The games have already started, so let's go straight to the games.
Yeah, it seems like there is too much tension, in the last round,
Yeah.
and the technique cannot really keep it. We didn't really miss much in the game Wesley So versus Magnus Carlsen. When we have seen the 4 knights scotch coming, I had the feeling, this is not good news for us, because it might end up being quite a dry draw. But what happened here is that Wesley came up with this relative new approach of bishop d2. He had faced it himself against Krivoruchko in the Grand Swiss tournament in Isle of Man.
Yeah.
And this spices up the line. Castles, and now we see one of the first time that Magnus is really taking his time in an early stage of a game.
Yeah, and that's really nice to see that we have Wesley coming with the new idea. Magnus takes his time, because this is one of the key games of today's round.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point is that why on earth then bishop d2 had never really been played?
Yeah.
Well, the point is that the whole theory, and this we have already seen in 2 of Wesley's games when he played with black, some different move orders, but it already got to this. This is the classical type of stuff. And usually you would think that white is obliged to take ed, because after bishop d2, for example, castles, can't black just simply take on c3?
Yeah.
Bishop takes c3 and take knight takes e4. It's a free pawn. You have to take. You take d4, and you can argue that black is pawn up. It's opposite colored type of possession. So what's the big deal?
Yeah.
But actually this did happen in a blitz game, I believe, between Karyakin and Aronyan, and Karyakin managed to prove that at least in a blitz game this was very, very dangerous for black, and Levon lost without a real fight. White of course keeps the queens and goes some queen h5.
Yeah, and we know the general rule that when we have opposite colored bishops, it's nice to have attack going on. Then there is no opponent for the light squared or dark squared bishop, and the attack can be really dangerous.
Yeah, and when we seen this game between Krivoruchko and Wesley So, I was there. I remember that Wesley was taking his time with black, so he appreciated it, and all the more since he has already played in the Tata Steel India Blitz tournament.
Yeah.
And in that game, bishop g4 happened in this moment. And I do remember when I saw this game, I thought, wow, yeah, Ding is nice. Even in the blitz game, he shows great preparation, because he must have seen these lines with bishop d2.
It was before, before castle.
It was before castles, exactly. But since Magnus already castled, this chance is so-called missed what Ding has used against Wesley. It was bishop g4, f3, bishop e6, and after castles he took d takes e4 now, using this moment that after knight e4, knight takes e4,
bishop b4, queen d4,
check. This is what happened. King h1, queen takes b4, bishop takes e4, castles, and black solves all his problems and made a draw. I believe that it was a blitz game. By now, definitely Wesley must have checked it and thought that he has some improvement going on. But after castles, and look at Magnus is not that happy, because he has to make a decision which you would like to make already in your analysis.
Yeah, castle. Magnus is still thinking already for more than 5 minutes. And will he go for bishop c3, or he will come up with another plan? Yeah,
it's a big question. It's a big question. I mean, taking the pawn on one side is very tempting, because you can feel like, okay, it's a classical game, I should be able to handle it. But if you feel that it gives the initiative to your opponent, you also don't want to do it.
And it's clear that Wesley is prepared, so we expect a lot from this game. Let's take a look at Fabiano's game, who already won the tournament, but still plays. Oh, wow.
And we see also some very original play here by the players. Okay, Artyomiev sticks to his usual scenario with white. He avoids mainstream theory, knight f3, d5, g3, rate is one of his weapons. And Fabiano spices it up immediately with knight d7. What I have noticed from Fabiano, that in this tournament he was trying to answer to his opponents as quickly as possible. And
in a very concrete way.
Yeah, and going for some really big fights. In my mind, this is connected with the candidates. He deliberately wants to get his mindset ready for big fights, and probably it also indicates that this is the type of chess he's willing to play in the candidates as well.
Yeah, interesting.
So
After
knight d7, yeah, just before we get into what changes with knight d7, yeah, the usual story when we are talking about classical rate is, for example, c6, bishop g2, black goes bishop g4, white castles, okay, there are all kinds of move orders, black plays knight d7 or black plays e6, and we see thousands of games like this. But with knight d7,
he wants to go e5.
Yeah, I mean, black wants to, so if white plays bishop g2, then black plays e5, and we get kind of reverse Peart's modern defense type of structures. And white can meet it with d4, but then it's like some closed Catalan stuff. And another way to treat it is to play c4.
And the very concrete direct answer after c4 is to take, and knight d7 also is nice because he can hang on this pawn, yeah, with knight b6, so queen a4 to get back.
Yeah, exactly. If white is not trying to win it back immediately, if he plays something like bishop g2, then black can really think about holding on to this pawn. So queen a4 is kind of forced, and we see now some queen takes c4, such type of position where this usually we get from here, that white plays, for example, c4. It's very typical, the so-called anti-Catalan weapon, d5, bishop g2, knight f6, knight f3, d takes c4, and then after queen a4 check, there are moves like knight b7, there are moves like c6, there are moves like bishop d7. But yeah, if you play knight b7, then we are getting very similar position like what the players are having. Just please keep this position in your mind, and now we see the exactly the same.
Yeah, with b5.
Yeah, and here the question is, that anyway you need this knight d7, and maybe you don't need the development immediately with the knight. You can try to make use of it to get this b7, b5, bishop b7 as quickly as possible. Okay, not yet, because here b5 could maybe be met by something occupying the diagonal, but already b5 or even a move like e6 looks very flexible.
I think b5 happened, yeah?
b5 already happened, yeah. I mean, if you go queen c6, black goes rook b8 and says thank you very much, my next move is bishop b7.
And this is very direct approach by black. If black develops quickly, then he solves all his problems connected with the c file, because as far as I understand, the black's main approach is to play bishop b7, then develop knight f6, e6, and c5. But he delays knight f6, e6, which maybe it will be good for him to play c5 directly. We will see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. It's common knowledge that try to get your bishop as quickly as possible to the long diagonal, and the moves like knight f6 you can make it later, because in the other line, actually, it's very, very important to note how that line continues, and this is the reason why Artyom is not thinking, because he has to somehow compare all these lines, that after queen a4 check, knight b7, queen takes c4, a6, black threatens b5, so if white would castle, black plays b5. This is, according to theory, very easy line for black, already full equality. So instead of castles, white has a move like queen b3, which stops black from playing b5, because then white has knight d4, and thanks to the long C6, diagonal and the c6 square, knight is coming and winning the game, in fact. So after queen b3, black has to switch somehow to c5, then white castles, and black is little bit disbalanced compared to the other lines. So in this sense, I do feel like Fabiano managed to trick Artyom with the move order, and he gets a good version of this anti-Catalan stuff.
Yep, seems so. Let's take a look at Jordan's game against Anish.
The game, it started with a quiet exchange Slav, but it turned messy right away, because after CD, Anish came up with this rare move bishop g5, which is gaining popularity. And if we remember that he played c4, c6, d4, d5 against Wesley So himself with black, it must indicate that he has spent quite some time with this exchange Slav, and he has some new ideas.
Knight c6, knight c3.
Knight f6, bishop takes f6. After this, I
That's
have
the
the
point.
feeling that it gets to some kind of a Trompovsky structure. After
Yeah.
bishop f6, g f6, e6, bishop d6, bishop d6. And this is now a very important moment. And look at Anish a little bit smiling or what? No, it looks like, no?
That's not his
Just
usual
the-
smile.
That's just the camera angle maybe, yeah? But
Yeah, he's doing more or less like this.
like, what is this, yeah?
Yeah.
In general, I would say that this is a very, very tricky position. It's so hard to assess because white has compromised black's pawn structure by taking an f6. On the other hand, he departed from the dark square bishop. Black has the pair of bishops. So how to treat the position from the white side? What is the idea? I mean, where do you want to develop the knight?
Yeah.
Is this knight maybe wanting to go to e2, then to g3, and eventually to
H5.
h5? Or is white simply thinking that I will just play normal chess with knight f3? But then we see that this pawn on f6 is doing quite a nice job against the knight on f3. And another thing is, could white eventually even think about trying to play f4 and then knight f3, making good use of this option that he can push f4? So
Yeah, it became very sharp somehow from very early stage of the game. It looked like, okay, it's just CD line, the exchange Slav, but that won't be the case, as we have already doubled pawns on f file and two
Daniel
bishops for...
just played knight f3. He just said, no, I'm not interested of this provocation. Let me just play my normal stuff. But I mean, normal stuff means that he should know this position and he knows that he has a plan. Because for me, it's not entirely obvious to understand why one move would be, or one setup would be better than the other right now.
But my question would be what to do with the king for black. I mean, to leave it in the center does not look attractive. To castle short, I'm also afraid, I don't know. Maybe castle short, but this bishop on d3 is such a nice piece. At some point, knight h4 or queen h5 might come very quickly. And I also think long castle is a bit tricky as well.
Yeah, I think in this type of positions, one very typical way of dealing with it, that black keeps the king in the center as long as white does not show his cards. So once white will castle, then black can also castle short.
Yeah.
But I do feel that before white has committed short castle, I don't want to castle in here, because exactly as you mentioned, maybe even something like knight h4 followed by queen h5, and something like f5
G4
can be then met by something like g4. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's again a question because I might be in time to go knight e7, g4, knight g6, and I feel that I'm just in time. But I mean, you don't want to give this option for white. So something like maybe bishop d7 could be a possible waiting move. On the other hand, also black has to make sure that he is ready to meet e3, e4. That's another central break. And another question that comes to mind, that maybe black can just play f6, f5. For the moment, this is a move he anyway needs for the future. And since he did not castle yet, then I'm not worried yet about any kind of g4s. And then follow it up with bishop d7, wait for white to decide to determine his king's position and act accordingly.
Yeah, and we have development actually in Magnus's game. Let's update on Magnus's game briefly, and then we can check other games as well.
Ah, wow. So,
So it happened. Bishop c3.
yeah, Magnus took bishop takes c3, bishop takes, and
And
d takes
e4.
e4.
Bishop f6, because, okay, now queen f6, bishop e4, and queen b2. Takes on c6. A lot of trade
Exchanges, yeah.
happened.
But now if you
Seems
don't know the
slightly better
position,
for white, no?
yeah, on the other hand, I'm again a little bit concerned, because this might peter out to some draw. I mean, here the question is really, is computer showing some very precise way for white to get advantage, or if not, then I would assume that over the board you are not really able to pose problems. Okay, Wesley so far has blitzed out all his moves, so we do hope that he has some questions to ask Magnus in this position.
Yes, we do. And let's go to Anand's game. He is playing against Jan-Christoph Duda, who had great tournament before yesterday. Yesterday he lost to Caruana, so he's on 50% right now. And the position looks... oh, queenless middle game.
Yeah, this is a Mykonos. This is a Mykonos, and yeah, just back to Duda.
Yeah.
It's a very tricky stuff. I mean, when you are +1 and you won one game and drew, for example, all the rest of the games, then if you manage to finish on +1, you feel that it was a very solid, good result. But after losing one game and it's a 50%, then already you feel like, I'm not that happy.
Yeah, you're wondering.
And we have seen he was very disappointed when he realized that he will lose the game against Fabi.
Yeah.
So in this sense, I think he's really motivated to make something out of his white pieces, because if he would manage to win today, then +1 would again look like a very good tournament.
And also just finishing the tournament on a good note is always a good thing to do.
Yes, so white played c4. This is already an indication that he is not shying away from a complex middle game type of structure, and Vichy goes for the Mykonos, which he has been using, I think, in previous years, but maybe not in the last one or 2 years, because I do remember that Vichy was heavily involved in c4, e5, knight c3, bishop b4, and the fact that this line is now really popular again is actually thanks to Vichy's introducing some new concepts and new ideas. But it's a very ambitious, at the same time very risky approach, so probably this is what Duda mainly had expected after playing c4. But Vichy said, no, I'm not ready, it's last round, it's 12 o'clock, let me play something more solid.
Yeah.
And we see the Mykonos. This is kind of all fairly standard, and here there is a big crossroad for white to play with knight f3, which can result in this position as we got in the game, or d4, when black can also play the b6 setup, but it gives white the option of playing bishop e2, bishop b7, bishop f3. I think there is this extra option for white in this move order, and black can of course play the classical e5 line. This is a move order issue. After knight f3, this b6 became very fashionable. I do remember that it was maybe Radek Wojtasek, Vichy's good friend and second, who introduced this system back some 8-9 years ago, and ever since was already played by Dingley, and I mean many good players had picked it up. So b6, d4, bishop b7. The idea is very concrete, that you don't let white really develop, because after bishop d3 you are ready to...
but he had to take, because bishop g5 also was a little bit of threat,
well, that's actually the big trick, that after knight d7 white goes bishop g5. It seems like bishop g5 is a blunder because of bishop takes f3, but all of a sudden queen d2 comes, and you lose the queen and you lose the game.
That's very nice trick to know.
So black takes, of course, on f3, queen takes f3. The big question is always, because you can change the queen and you can not change the queens, and it's two completely different concepts, and it's very double-edged which concept is better. It basically depends what you have prepared, but queen takes f3 I think is the most principled move in this position.
Takes and knight d7.
Knight d7, rook b1, bishop d6 and bishop e4. White wants to make sure that he gets the bishop to c6, hindering black's c7, c5. Vichy played rook d8.
Rook d8, and for white it's 2 bishops, but for black has better pawn structure than white. White has a lot of pawn islands and doubled pawns. f3, f2, c3, c4.
This is a typical position that only thanks to the pair of bishops you can compensate for this deficit of pawn structure. If imagine instead of one of the bishops you would have a knight, we would be talking about blacks having the advantage. So here, what could white really hope for is something like, okay, I go bishop c6, black, for example, castles, and maybe try to play f4, which stops e6, e5, and we see a 1 point behind f4, that if knight f6, white can play king e2, knight
And
h5,
king f3.
king f3,
Yeah.
just in time to protect the f4 pawn and not let black land something on f4. And if white gets bishop e3, rook g1, we see white has a lot of dynamics. Now let's just imagine that after castles, white would miss this opportunity to go f4 and activate the king, would just waste the tempo on bishop e3, then already knight f6, king e2, knight h5 would give black a fantastically nice f4 square,
Yeah.
and black would be perfectly fine. So yeah, it's an endgame, but full of finesses and
Full of tricks.
yeah.
And let's go to Daniel Dubov versus Alireza Firuza, a very interesting matchup today. Both of the players are pretty aggressive, and Alireza Firuza, he lost 3 games in a row, but then he did stop the bleeding by drawing yesterday
Yeah.
against Nikita Vityukov.
And now when I look at the opening choice, what Firuza did, d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, bishop f4, I have somehow the feeling as if he's not sure what should he do against these guys.
Yeah.
Because Dubov is again very famous of having very good preparation, and after being over aggressive in a couple of his white games, maybe Firuza thought, okay, let me try to be also a little bit solid.
Yeah.
However, even here, judging by the time, I mean, Dubov must have blitzed out his concept. Knight c6, knight d2,
And knight h5.
knight h5. A move I don't really know.
Knight h5. dc5 seems to be very direct and concrete, because otherwise, if you lose time, bishop g3, then we
Yeah.
again have this, black gets 2 bishops, but e6 is not there yet, so the diagonal is open for the c8 bishop.
Yeah, I mean, the dc5 looks like a principal move.
Yeah.
Also basically saying that if you already did not include cd, then let me try to punish it. But exactly, this is again the fact that if you try to punish it, will get very sharp.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we see in the game. for g6. So black in fact has no intention of trying to take this pawn back on c5 at all, which he could most probably do by playing e6. But after e6, black blocks his own bishop
Yeah.
from c8, and even if white is not able to hang on to his pawn, which maybe he could try with knight b3, and one can argue that exchanging this knight for that bishop is something white could
Be happy about.
be happy about, because thanks to this f4 pawn, white has nice grip. White goes queen e2 castles. How much it is, it's already another question. Maybe it's even not necessary to go knight b3, but the move g6 I like, because it just shows that, okay, I don't mind this c5 pawn.
I have 2 bishops.
Yeah, let me get the bishop to the diagonal,
Yeah.
because if I get to the diagonal, then how you really want to hang on in long terms to this pawn?
Bishop b5, castle, castle. And I guess white's point should be somehow to blockade on d4 square and try to defend the c5 pawn with b4.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
While
also
black has 2 bishops and
exchanging the bishop for
Yeah.
the knight is perfectly possible, and I'm really curious that how Dubov, will he continue blitzing, or will he start to think?
yeah, he probably will take a bit of time.
He should take time. And maybe let's jump to Yu Yanji versus Jeffrey Chong, because I think the banker gambit had been played.
Oh,
And this is not something we see very often on the highest level. I do remember 2008, Magnus Carlsen played it against Luc van Wely.
yeah.
In that game,
Yeah.
when Magnus actually went kind of all in, he was busted, but finally managed to trick
Yeah,
Luc.
he just tricked it. Was really big advantage for Luc,
Yeah.
but it ended badly for him.
So you know the classics, yeah? I mean, all the Tata Steel stuff.
I
you know,
was
yeah?
there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, b5. The banker gambit here we see.
Yeah, and one way is to take it right away or play knight of 3 first.
Yeah.
Iriangi chose knight of 3, g6, and then taking. I guess the trick is that if you don't go knight of 3 first, and if you take it right away, then black might delay g6.
Yeah.
And play e6 or a6.
Yeah, it was a tragic news for the whole chess world when Paul Banker passed away 26th of August 2019. He was a true legend, and he was very much loved all around the world. He was a fascinating personality. The first time I met him was in 1989, playing my first World Youth Championship in Puerto Rico.
Oh.
I didn't speak any not Hungarian, any English yet, and Paul was living in the US, and I think the Hungarian Chess Federation contacted him that please come over to St. Louis and to San Juan and to Puerto Rico. It was actually exactly in Aguadilla, in one military camp, military base we were playing.
Oh wow, military base.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, military base. It was quite tricky stuff there, but yeah, he came over and then he helped with so many things, and I got to know him. He was showing his famous studies. I mean, with his studies, he was driving us crazy because there was no way we would be solving it before the game, and it was a real teaser.
Wow.
It was very nice to have the chance already at the age of 10 to meet him.
Indeed. And there we have Banco Gambit with CB-A6 and B6, which is kind of the main move, right?
Yeah, it's one of the main moves. And
yeah.
one more thing to this trip, it was my first ever very big intercontinental trip, and I do remember that we somehow changed a lot of flights and we flew over New York and then to San Juan. And when we arrived, there was some tropical rain, and it was incredible humidity and so on. And after like some 30 hours of traveling, we arrived there. We get out of the airport, and I tell to my father, who was accompanying me, let's go back home, because I felt like I'm completely exhausted and I'm dead after just
I cannot play tournaments like this.
I do remember, yeah, we were waiting for the bus to take us to the venue, and I was saying, no, it's enough, let's go back.
Yeah, sometimes it can be really rough in tropical countries if you get into rain season. Oh, that's...
Yeah, it felt like, ooh, no. It was
no
good,
time for chess.
Good back in Hungary, yeah. So b6, yeah, one of the ways if white does not want to take the pawn, which basically then leads lately to this position, which they are debating.
Yeah.
Bishop g7, white goes for this g3, castles, king g2 position, and white is doing quite nicely. Obviously white did not really expect the banker happening, I believe, and decided that no, I'm not interested what my opponent had prepared, it's the last one, let me be solid. And also maybe judging the fact that if Jeffrey does not have much of an experience in the banker gambit, then maybe let's try to play a structured position instead of playing any kind of force lines. In this sense, b6 is a very nice alternative for white. d6, knight c3, knight bd7, e4, bishop g7, bishop e2, castles, knight b6, a4. Fairly standard, yes. On the other hand, there is always a big issue that because whenever white plays b6, the big question is, should black simply take with the queen, or should he play with knight b7 then try to play rook b8 and take with the rook on b6, or should he really just take with the knight, because after all, in this line, white is fighting for the c4 square, so often knight d2, knight c4 wants to be played. This is also the idea behind a4, that white wants to kick the knight away with a5 and then transpose with knight to c4.
Yeah, and the move b6 is really nice for that one, because then knight c4 and c4 square becomes forepost for the knight. A sharp game here. Shall we look at other game, which is...
Which one did we miss yet? Okay,
Kovalev?
we haven't looked at Vladislav Kovalev Nikita Vityugov game. It was a French It was a French, so Nikita felt like getting back to his beloved French, because he used to be a very big expert. However, the last few years he switched more to Sicilian and more to Spanish directions. So we see knight d2 c5, knight f6, eb knight d5, knight e4. I mean, I don't know.
Not the usual one.
Yeah, I don't know that much, because after d4, d5, I'm exclusively playing knight c3, which leads to completely different type of play. Knight d2, c5, knight f3 does have a very solid reputation for black.
Taking.
Takes, knight e4. I'm not sure if I have ever seen this position. Bishop e7, bishop b5, check, bishop d7. It reminds me of some C3 Sicilian, to be honest, because one can argue it looks similar to some Caro-Kann, but I do feel that it's completely different. But some C3 Sicilian without the pawn being on C3, mostly it resembles that.
Indeed, but after bishop b5, bishop d7, to me it looks like black shouldn't have any problems.
Yeah, I mean that's my feeling. On the other hand, these innocently looking positions sometimes are much more poisonous than one thinks. One question is, for example, after bishop takes d7, will you take back with the queen or with the knight? It's already a question.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a decisive one. It's I mean, it seems that black has no real problems here.
Indeed, and a lot of simplification happened in Magnus's game. I think that will be draw soon.
Really? Yeah, already that.
I don't know.
Maybe
far. Not. Maybe.
Don't scare us. Don't scare us. Wow. Yeah, because so many things had happened after bishop c6, rook b8, rook b1 takes. It's all forced.
And
rook d8.
Rook. Bishop f3, king f8, and bishop a6.
And bishop b3 back. And you see how forced it is that Wesley is still blitzing.
Yeah.
This is all part of his preparation. I mean, one danger black was having was that how he will deal with the pin. I mean, after rook d8, white still cannot play rook b8 immediately because rook d1 checkmate is coming. But in order to fight for advantage, you have to try to pin. And after king f8, rook b8 had been finally played, and it's a very nice way of having rook e8 threatening rook on e1. So white loses the tempo with h4, bishop a6, and rook b3. We are getting a teaser here. That what kind of preparation is this?
Yeah, but sometimes it's fine if he maintains the little plus, and if he will kind of push, because if he wanted to make a draw, he would probably just take on e8 and then shake hands.
Yeah, okay, that's already a little bit even dangerous,
because
if you take on e8, it's certainly not the plan, because this little bishop on a6 stops white from playing king f1, and the black king might start marching on the dark square toward the. Okay, of course
bishop
it should be that draw, but but still, of course, white's intention is that maybe it's a draw, but he wants to be the one calling the shots and let black play very precise. I don't know how precise you have to be honest.
It is a try, kind of.
It is a try. One of the justification is that the move bishop c4, which looks very tempting, can be maybe answered by rook b7, and if you take on a2, I take on a7 with tempo.
And then c7.
And I take the pawn, and this is already serious, serious winning chances.
It reminds me of a game of Wesley in this tournament against Yu Yang.
Yeah, when he was black.
Yeah, he was black,
and then he maybe thinks that, that was also supposed to be easy draw, and I was suffering there. Let me try to pose some little problems to Magnus. Magnus still has to find the balance in his position, how to untangle. I believe that he should be finding it pretty easily, but still.
And play the Grob in chat is trolling me. Sopriko is used to seeing draws since she's married to the draw master. Yeah, true. What can I say?
Yeah, and I'm also famous of making a lot of, so it's a lot of draw in the area, somehow in this commentating team, but yeah, it's not our decision what the players are choosing. And look at Anish is checking out. Anish is checking out because
that's something. He smells the try, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of you see Wesley's clock. I mean 144, and then you immediately try to make sense of it that so that's what he's trying, yeah, because if it would be a complete draw, definitely it would not really been tried by Wesley.
Yeah, and I mean it's easy to always judge the players the way they are playing, because if this one turns out to be quick draw, then they would be like, okay, that's ridiculous what Wesley is doing. But if he manages to put real pressure, then he will be again the wow, you know what Wesley did.
Yeah, how precise, what the preparation and so on.
Yeah, so I don't trust this judging.
Yeah, I mean there is somehow very narrow path between these two things happening. One question is for me that could Black somehow try to play bishop e2 just to disbalance this bishop from f3, which is quite nicely placed, and somehow stepping out of this having some issues on the a file. Okay, rook a3 can always be answered by rook e6. Yeah, so bishop e2. If you play bishop d5, I thought that I will try to harass you further with rook d8.
Yeah, I cannot, unfortunately. Can I hold on with c4?
But then I play c6.
Yeah, then c6, that's what I was worried about. And
that's
if I take it...
Yeah, then I feel like now I'm out of any problems, because I can already play a6.
Yeah.
The problem what Black has is that he has two weaknesses on a7 and c7. But also playing bishop e2 is, I mean, you need very precise calculation. You just can't play bishop e2 and then let's see afterwards what is happening.
Right.
And Magnus taking his time, it also clear indication that by far he's not feeling that he can just
And he played bishop e2.
And he did play bishop e2. Yeah, that's the move that you feel like you want to disbalance this bishop from f3.
Yeah. Bishop e2, and maybe now Wesley did not expect it, but on the other hand, that's kind of the most logical move in the game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he must have expected bishop e2. The question is that is he happy or unhappy about this that Magnus has played? For me, it feels a little bit that Wesley was like in a catch-22 situation. Yeah, he started with +2 right from the beginning, and then his openings somehow he never really got a game, and we simply didn't really understood that. Is he not willing to sharpen up, or is it just because the openings don't work out? And whenever he played with the black pieces, the white's opponents were also very solid. They did not really want to try, and I'm pretty sure that if Wesley would have been stuck around 50%, he would have felt like, okay, let me try to break out of this, because I'm not happy with 50%. But +2 in this field is actually a very nice result. I think he's winning some rating points. And when I look at the live ratings and I see him around 2765 or something.
He's like number 6 or
no,
7
below now. I mean, he's almost not top 10. And
I mean, with live rating.
Yeah, maybe now that he won, but before the event.
Before the
event,
when
you think about Wesley, I mean, you used to be remembering him with 2800, 2790. What is it? And exactly, when your rating drops, actually you remain the same player, but somehow your confidence level drops. And you need some solid, stable results which builds you up again. And from all these small little results, you can gain more and more confidence, and you are getting more and more aggressive and ambitious after that.
Yeah, and he definitely wants to try. I remember that he was asked in the interview, like, Wesley, that you get your kind of positions, which is like risk-free, and you have like tiny something, and you try to press, but he refused it. He was like, no, like everybody has their own taste. There are positions that some like more, some like less, but I want to be universal player and I want to try everything. So definitely he is the one who wants to try and play all sorts of positions. But I agree with you that tournament situation for him is very nice, and having back the live rating and rating for them, for top players, is very important. It gives you also the confidence. While everything is decided in Masters, and by everything I mean just the first place, we already have the winner of Tata Steel Masters, who is Fabiano Caruana. Nothing is clear yet in the Challengers group. Let's take a look at Challengers standings. David Anton Guijarro is the sole leader, with half point ahead of Nodirbek Abdusattorov, Ervin Lamy and Pavel Elyanov. Pavel Elyanov and Ervin Lamy are playing against each other, while Nodirbek Abdusattorov plays the tournament underdog Dinara Sadvokasova, and David Anton faces Lucas van Foreest. Shall we take a look at their game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a very, very dramatic last round. It's clear that all four players who you have just mentioned are dreaming of securing their spot in next year's Masters. I mean, this is just one of a lifetime opportunity, and they are very, very close. We see also David Anton Guijarro showing some nerves, because it seems like he is already almost guaranteed to qualify, and he lost with the white pieces against Max Warmerdam. A shocking result yesterday, and what it meant for him, that he doesn't exactly know which result he needs in the last round, because he is just half a point ahead. Imagine if he loses, he might lose the chance of qualifying, but also a draw is not guaranteeing first place for him. It's a very tricky situation when you play with black.
Indeed.
He decided to play the Kalashnikov Sicilian. I mean, something that I'm not really remembering him ever using. So the Kalashnikov Sveshnikov is e5 here, knight b5 d6, c4 bishop e6, knight 5 c3 and g6. This is a little bit this new type of Kalashnikov, which is not the standard one. The standard one was
sideline a bit,
yeah, black was playing bishop e7 and trying to change the bishop with bishop g5. But I think Dubov played it against me in a Blitz World Championship in 2015 in Berlin. And when he played it, I first thought that what is this? And I made all the natural moves and got completely nothing out of the position. And I even was low on time. I was happy to just stabilize and make a draw. So after this game, I actually have a much higher opinion of this setup. What black is trying to achieve is that he says that yes, with 4
you
e5,
have d5 square.
I have weakened the d5 square, but thanks to this bishop on g7, black gets nice access to the d4 square. And we see knight d4 had been played, and now Lucas did play something. He castled.
So he allows knight e6, sort of.
Yeah, he allows knight e6. If you really want to do that, it's another question. But look at the times. 1:12 for Anton and 1:27 for Lucas, which means that maybe David Anton wanted to surprise Lucas, but Lucas is not impressed at all. He thinks that yes, I know you want to win the tournament, you are willing to take this, but this is your problem. Let me play my own chess.
Indeed, and big game also in Challengers is Elyanov versus Ervin Lamy. Both of them are fighting today because they have a chance to win the tournament. And also Lucas is Dutch, Ervin is Dutch, and of course there is a chance that Lucas might want to stop David Anton because of Ervin.
That could be, but I think Ervin has his own problems. I mean, facing Pavel Elyanov with the black pieces, this is also a very, very big challenge. I mean, one of the most toughest pairings possible in the Challengers. So let's jump right in there. What do we have in their game? We see very similar time situation, and we also see some very unbalanced position. To be able to make sense out of this, let's just see what has happened. So we see a classical Ruy Lopez developing, castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3, d6, but here white plays a4, very much in the anti-martial type of spirit. On the other hand, since white played with 6 rook e1, it's a little bit different. So bishop b7, but after these 3 castles we have reached the position which I think Erwin already done in the tournament.
Yeah.
Maybe he has already, if I'm not mistaken, he already committed with bishop b7 in one of his games. So castles, bishop d2. Again, this bishop d2.
Again, without knight c3 and yeah.
Yeah, we discussed it that it aims to stop black from playing knight a5. I'm not sure that with the bishop b7 black actually wants the knight a5, but it's a very flexible move, and Erwin jumps right in with knight d4 saying, aha, you did not develop your knight to c3, I will not let you to do this. Knight takes d4 is kind of obliged.
But judging by time, Erwin did take quite a lot of time, while Pavel was kind of more prepared, and yesterday we've seen great preparation by Pavel Elyanov, who beat Surya Ganguly in a very, very sharp game.
Yeah, I mean it shows that the disappointing loss of Elyanov against Anton did not discourage him, and especially after seeing that David Anton had faltered himself and he has chance, I think it gives extra energy. The move knight d4, if you are not prepared to play knight d4, we don't know exactly how much time Erwin has spent for knight d4, but it's certainly a move which you can't make by hand.
Yeah.
It's a very committal move. You have to understand and judge all these complications which happened in the game with knight d4, e d c3. White breaks this d4 pawn
right
immediately.
Away.
Yeah, d takes c3, knight takes c3, b4, knight e2, d5. And we are told Erwin spent close to 11 minutes on knight d4. Yeah, this is a typical scenario. You need at least 10-11 minutes to go for it, and white goes e5. This is an ultra sharp position.
Yeah. This is what we want to see when they fight for first place, right? But on paper, I guess, Nodirbek Abdusattorov has the best chance to win his game, as he is playing the underdog of the tournament, Dinara Sadvorkasova, who did not have great tournament. She is on -7, and
Erwin has played knight d7 is the logical move. Now we will see what Pavel will do. He most probably will think, and this is an option maybe to just check out what Abdusattorov is doing with the white pieces. Because one can argue that the pairing is nicer for Abdusattorov because he has the white pieces against the underdog Dinara Sadvorkasova, but on the other hand, it's clear that, for example, Dinara is very happy to play a safe game and make a draw with black, which also makes your task much more difficult with the white pieces to win. In the game of Pavel Elyanov, Erwin Lamy, there is this dynamic that both players want to win because that's the only chance of qualifying eventually. So it's a lot of psychology involved.
Indeed, Queen f5.
And we
was
see
the
that
last move.
Nodirbek simply ignored theory, and he felt like, yes, this is a crucial game. I want to win it at all costs, and let me try to get out of openings as quickly as possible. Dinara has been suffering so far, so let me try to just play chess. And we see very much something that, if you see it from Artemiev, it would look very natural, that Artemiev plays the way Nodirbek plays the way like Artemiev does. Very simple, easy development, very healthy position, some reverse kind of Grunfeld structure.
But does it really cause some problems?
Okay, the idea is not to pose direct problems, but just a long playable game. What it will bring, we shall see.
And I've seen a lot of people gathering on Magnus's board. Bishops are off. And this looks like this looks drawish.
Looks drawish, but actually white is winning a pawn, but black wins it back. That's the point. After rook a3 you just go rook e6, and after rook a7 you have rook c6. And if rook a3 is not played, it's basically acknowledging that you have nothing.
Right.
So yeah, this game in fact will not last very long, I believe. So after rook b3, bishop e2 had been played, bishop e2, rook e2, rook c3, rook e7, black f3, and the king comes closer, guards the weaknesses, and if black frees the rook, then in fact one can argue that the black's king is closer to the weak pawns, so white has no right to play for any victory.
Yeah, rook a3 is played. Let's keep the camera because I think this game will finish very soon. Rook a3, rook e6, rook a7, rook c6, and I am expecting handshake.
Yeah, but actually maybe it's slightly inaccurate to take on a7, because after rook c6 maybe black can be a little
because of the king.
Yeah, and I will hit you with a check, and I can argue that my c pawn is a little bit more useful than the a pawn. Of course it's a dead low, but why on earth to give this? Magnus actually has anyway played rook e5 with the same ideas, indicating that if you are not taking, I might gonna play a5.
And taking rook c5.
Yeah, so now probably g4 and rook takes c2 check, king e3.
Yeah.
Because you want the king closer
not
to the center.
Not to g3, but to e3.
And this is basically a handshake position.
Yeah.
It's obviously a handshake position.
Okay, king e3, he can start with king e3, and after rook c2, g4. Yesterday I was every move waiting for the handshake in Duda's game, but it never happened. So I'm not gonna say anything anymore.
Yeah, rook takes c2 and g4 played.
And I like sometimes they don't even offer a draw. They look at each other and they are like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
And then handshake.
You somehow can't even imagine any scenario. I mean, how many mistakes one side has to make in order to have any real winning chances?
h5.
Best one on one.
Alpha 0. h5. Oh, I don't want to confuse our viewers, as there's a question, Duda didn't shake hands yesterday. No, the thing I meant is that I was I was waiting for resignation, but every move I was saying that okay, now it's time to resign, now it's time to resign, and he was coming up by some tricky moves. Wesley just takes the pawn.
Rook c5 is played.
Yeah, rook c5. I
mean, in this tournament we don't have the rook c4 is played. We don't have the Sofia rules, so basically, and we don't have any certain. So players can any moment agree to a draw. But in this position, you also feel like you don't have to agree because it will just be dead anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we can play until king to king, right?
Yeah.
At least it will be some 40 move game.
Rook g5.
Yeah.
No, Firuza is not checking out because it's so exciting, but he also feels like, okay, so this game is almost about to end.
Yeah, king e6, take, it doesn't take. Okay, repetition. We will see repetition now. King c5, rook c5, king d6, rook g5, king e6.
I got a slight tempo with king d6, now I improve my position. Can I try to make use of it? King d6, rook g5, I can now play f6. If you take, I take.
I'm sure I would lose this one.
I'm not sure.
Against you.
I'm not sure.
I'm really sure. So I won't get into any discussion. I don't trust myself. But yeah. It didn't happen. What happened in the game?
Rook c5, rook a4. They are somehow very professional.
Everybody, I love the scene. Everybody is like, wow, this is such an interesting game.
Yeah, okay, everybody feels that, yeah, this is going to end soon.
Yeah.
Look at Elyanov is also coming. What is happening? Yeah, I'm playing for qualification. I'm risking that nobody pays attention to that game, and everyone is checking out this game. But yeah, it's simply the last game of Magnus in the tournament. Yeah, so maybe the last moves for him in the Tata Steel 2020.
This face, yeah. That was easy. Taking and.
Yeah, usually you have double feelings when you make a draw like this with black, yeah? Because a draw with black is a good result, a normal result. On the other hand, you understand also perfectly that you only get chances if your opponent is really motivated to pose you problems.
Yeah. Check.
And this game was definitely not something where Wesley really thought that he wants to challenge Magnus to a real street fight.
Right. King G7. Okay, guys, come on. No, not yet. They are waiting for second time control, yeah? To have 2 hours, 2 hours on the clock.
And Magnus maybe will think that, okay, it's draw, but I'm the only one who can do something. Let me start massaging you. Look at the body language of Magnus indicates he has won positions like this in the board blitz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a blitz game, Magnus would be really determined to try to punish White's pragmatic play.
But I have to say, I have trust in Wesley So's drawing skills.
Yeah, I mean, he will now bring the king probably back to G3. That would be something like King F2.
Yeah.
And King G5 can be met by King G3. Yeah, and you see, I was absolutely right. I felt it rightly. The first time engine says minus for White, it's minus 009. That's exactly how I would also avoid the position. Now it's Black who is calling the shots.
And minus Magnus 009 is...
Yeah, and Magnus gets up and he says like, yeah, let me check out the games. I'm indicating I'm ready to torture you for another 20, 30 moves.
All right. We are ready for the torture.
Just for educational purposes, that you are not supposed to be playing against me like this.
But okay, on the other hand, if I put my king on G3 and I even lose the A pawn, there should be no danger, right?
Yeah, but simply that this A pawn has no value at all in this position. So then if you feel that just with black you can play, okay, then let's play.
Exactly. So we will wait another 2 hours for them to shake hands, and meanwhile we will take a short break. Welcome back, everybody. This is the last round of Tata Steel Chess. I'm International Master Sopka Goramishvili alongside with top grandmaster Peter Leko. Peter, we already have rook endgame in Magnus Carlsen's game, but the time situation for them is very nice. 128 for Wesley. So, oh no, it's move 40 and it became 219. While for Magnus it will be also 2 hours and 5 minutes. What do you think?
Well, what I think is that Wesley should have never got into this type of rook endgame. I mean, there was just no need to it at all.
Right.
Basically, I had the feeling it felt like both players are about to agree to a draw, but none of them wants to offer a draw.
Yeah,
and
none of them wants to
they
take
kept
the first
on
step.
blitzing. Yeah,
Yeah.
they kept on blitzing the moves. Of course, don't get me wrong, this position is a dead draw, but
Yeah.
I mean, the position before was much more dead.
Yeah.
Now Magnus has all the rights to try to continue playing, and his moves are very easy. He's the one who can never ever lose this position, but there are scenarios when White can. And look at Wesley, he's also not feeling as happy as he has been before.
Yeah. And rook h7 to keep the rook on a4.
This is a precise move. Rook
Yeah.
h7 is a very precise move, and look at Wesley is fully focused because he understands just one inaccuracy and Magnus will really start the torture, but rook h7 seems to be very precise. Magnus displeased with this.
Yeah.
I mean, there is one justification. If black goes rook h3, then white can take rook h4, rook takes f3 check, king g2, and you can depart from this, but now at least you are in a theoretical drawn position.
Right. And one more precise move probably from Wesley and then it will be over. But still it is Magnus who is pressing it. We have a draw in Alireza Firuza against Daniel Dubov. That looked pretty sharp.
That looked pretty sharp, but all of a sudden players agreed to a draw because, in fact, yeah, the position now after bc, bishop takes c6, bishop a6 leads automatically to this position. After which white has the open b5 while black has the bishop,
Yeah.
and it simply compensates for any kind of white's activity. It's a dead draw.
Right, so this is the first result of the last round. Draw between youngsters. Back to Magnus. He played, what did he play?
He played rook c4.
Rook c4.
Actually, this move does simply nothing.
Yeah, if I
Because
can also wait. Yeah,
You can go rook h8, yeah.
But I have a feeling like Magnus is sitting like, if I play rook h8, then rook a4, rook h7, he's ready to repeat.
You think
No?
so? No, he will not. I mean,
I
first
always
he will
hope.
collect the pawn. I mean, he can
Okay.
he can simply collect the pawn. No, rook h8.
Rook h8. But can he? Because h4 is hanging. Okay, rook c1. Then trick, rook h4 doesn't work because of rook h1.
Winning the rook.
Yep. But I guess white still can wait.
Ah, but black wants to go king f4. Black wants to go king f4.
King f4, and if I...
I
okay,
mean,
so
if
maybe king
you
g2,
push-
yeah?
Yeah, if you push the a pawn, then I might go king f4. This is Magnus's idea, and after rook takes h4 check, king h3, suddenly with this king and my strong f pawn, it looks really dangerous.
So king g2 has to be played.
Yeah, king g2 has to be played, but then I give you a check,
King h3
and I
and king
go
f4.
king f4. I mean, it's a little bit scary, and you see, I mean, Wesley is just so displeased with himself because it might be a complete draw, but why on earth do you put yourself in such situation that now you have to worry about some things?
Right.
You just have to worry about some things, and you feel like if you would ever lose this, you are looking completely idiotic.
Oh yeah. that
and this
would
is some
be very
kind of a
bad news.
pressure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some mental pressure.
Yeah, that's bad news for Wesley. But once again, I believe that he will draw this game.
Yeah, for sure he should do it, but this is psychological situation. It has nothing to do with chess already.
Right. In Fabiano's game, Artima versus Fabiano.
Yeah, we see a very
Oh,
typical
looks-
one where black is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
The only problem what black faces is that, okay, you are perfectly fine, however, probably not more.
Yeah.
It's just an equal position, so black did solve all his openings problems with this tricky move order that he got his bishop to the long diagonal. In this case, there is no trick from white. He has to sit and play the normal type of anti-Catalan stuff, which is known not to promise anything.
Yeah.
C5, knight, c3. The only question was always, can white try to attack the b5 pawn before black is able to protect it nicely? I mean, b5, b4 would be a clear strategic error. Then white goes back to b1, knight comes, and with this
Yeah.
lovely square on c4, that's all what white needs to play this position. So queen b6 very important, takes, bishop g5 castles, rook a1, and now something like bishop c6. Looks very
Yeah.
solid.
No problems whatsoever for Fabiano. In Dutch Derby,
Yeah, let's see if
The-
the Dutch Derby has heaten up already or not yet, because it felt like it was a very
they took it
Tricky.
slow, I guess. Tricky game, yeah.
So in fact, after knight fc
Oh.
f5 had been played, we were judging it correctly. G3, bishop d7, so black makes sure that he's not running into this e3 e4 break, so therefore the f6 f5, bishop d7 castles, rook c8, rook c1, and now short castle.
Right.
Just as we mentioned, first black waits for white to determine his king's position. Once white castle, then
He
it's
castles
already
as well.
the right moment to castle. a3, king h8, just in case a nice prophylactic preparatory move. Queen a2, rook g8, king h1, knight
Knight
a5.
a5. What can white play for? Breakthrough in the center? f3, e4, will it make sense?
I'm not sure about that because okay, black has the dark squared bishop which compensates for the damaged pawn
Yeah.
structure, and if you somehow try to make then
Like
probably
knight
knight
d2.
d2,
Yeah.
you go f3 for it also weakens your structure. I think
Knight d2 is played.
Anish did play knight d2, but I believe not necessarily the f3 e4 idea.
Mhm.
Maybe one idea is also to play b4, and let's see, is black ready to go knight c4 or not? Now white would win a pawn
Yeah.
if black jumps knight c4, and otherwise if he's not ready to do, let's suppose black plays something like a6, I get b4, knight c6 and knight b3, and then I'm the one who jumps to c5.
Right.
And then there is no reason to weaken anything here. White has a very stable structure. So let's see how black justifies his last move with knight a5. Is queen b6 an idea maybe?
Queen b6.
Putting pressure on the
And
pawn, and if
b4,
b4 then I have knight c4 because the king on h1 is
That's
in the
beautiful.
tactics, yeah?
But yeah,
If white would take the pawn, then black has queen c6 check and winning the bishop.
tricks.
So that would actually make sense for black.
Can I play knight b5?
Okay,
I
you
don't
can,
want to
but
play.
knight b5,
Takes,
even if I
takes,
just take it,
a6.
I don't
Yeah.
feel that this is any
Yeah.
danger with the opposite colored.
I'm even losing pawn, I guess. Takes, a6.
Yeah, but I mean, even not for it, just on general grounds, then black would feel that after changing this bishop for that knight, it should be perfectly fine.
Right, queen b6 is an idea for Jordan.
And also logical, because you remember in this position after queen e2, black did not play knight a5 yet. He first played rook g8, and after king h1 went for knight a5,
Yeah.
probably spotting this kind of tactical trick that maybe somewhere I will have this queen c6 check.
Yeah, knight d2 is on the board. And we will wait. Will we see queen b6? On the other hand, knight c4 is probably threat afterwards. Also
Yeah.
b2 is hanging. But I think I can play b. No, I can play b3.
No, you cannot play this.
a3 is hanging.
I mean, how do you protect this pawn on b2?
Good question.
Okay, worst case scenario, if white is suddenly afraid and displeased that he missed something, he might be able to play bishop b5.
Right.
I mean, bishop b5, queen b5, and white is totally safe and no problems.
But rook c3?
Rook c3, queen b6?
No, I mean before.
Ah, before.
Rook c3,
Ah,
bishop
yes, you
d7,
can, yeah, you can,
queen b2.
yeah, or takes, queen
Yeah.
b2, yeah. Yeah, so
This
there
doesn't look like
usually
nice.
when you try to play for a draw, all of a sudden it runs into some tactics in this
Yeah.
position. So
I guess b4 is still the
is a principled move,
Principled
yeah.
move.
Knight c4, and then how to deal with this.
yeah.
I mean, there is an option just to take and to remove the bishop and claim that I have a lovely knight on c3 and maybe I will break something on the
f3 e4, yeah.
or just some rook cd1 and d5, but I do feel that this is very sharp. It's double-edged.
Yeah.
I mean, both sides have trumps. I also don't know where to put the bishop on b1 or on c2,
Yeah.
because black has some ideas connected with a5 breaking the structure.
Then I might need b5 rook b1 or rook b1, yeah.
Yeah, but b5 is never possible because
Yeah.
the bishop is hanging. So yeah, there are all kinds of questions. And queen
Queen
b6
b6
played.
is played.
It's the logical move, and let's see how Anish is planning to meet this queen b6.
Queen b6. So far I have troubles to see.
Yeah, Anish feels like he wanted to make a move. And look at the way Jordan is sitting. Isn't this the pose how Ivan Sokolov was used to be sitting? Somehow it resembles me very much. Yeah.
He was working with Ivan.
Yeah, he was working. Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, Anish
Okay.
is like thinking like, wow, even here there are such, all of a sudden such questions, yeah? Because it felt like white plays a very stable structure with a clear plan that, okay, I will just shuffle my pieces, and all of a sudden this knight a5, queen b6 puts a very direct question.
How to deal with it.
How to deal with it, yeah.
And we have updates in Anand's game, I think, versus Duda.
Yeah, so rook d8, that's where we left it. f4 happened, c5, king e2, rook c8, bishop d3, f5. Vishy in his element, yeah, in this rook c7, rook b5, bishop e7. Lot of reshuffling. White will try to
A5.
play with a5, yeah, making weakness on b6.
Interesting. Very tense endgame.
Yeah, I mean, one can argue that yeah, black's bishop is eyeing towards the f6 square in order to put pressure on d4, because yeah, after a4 a5, the big question how to react with black. Do nothing. Yeah, a5 is played.
A5, yeah. It looks like white has some pressure, no? With two bishops
It
and
seems,
activity.
but on the other hand, black is so solid.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
pawn structure is really solid.
yeah, if you get bishop on f6, then how to break with white at all. I mean, A, the knight on d7 protects both b6 and c5. I can imagine black playing g6 just to cover and support the f5 pawn as well.
Yeah.
And white is also having a problem with his c4 and d4 pawn. He needs to activate something in order to pose problems, but how do you pose the problems?
Indeed, and we have only one result so far in Tata Steel Masters. Daniel Dubov and Alireza Firouzja, they drew their game. Alireza finished on 50% in his first super tournament. And I think there's a question for you, Peter. What does it say to you? Magnus finished last in his first year in Group A, but then came second in Linares the month after.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that before the tournament, Firouzja would have been very happy to have a 50% score in his first super tournament. On the other hand, he started with some incredible wins. He was +3, was leading the tournament half-time. In this sense, I'm pretty sure that right now he feels a bit disappointed because it was possible that maybe an incredible sensation the chess world will witness here in Tata Steel 2020. But after all, 50% is a great result. He has shown to the whole world that he has enormous potential. He is not afraid of anyone. He is willing to take risks. He is willing to challenge the best players already to open fight. But as we have also seen the second part of the tournament against Magnus Carlsen, Fabiano Caruana and Vishy Anand, this very open fight was just maybe a bit early.
Yeah.
But kudos to him that he was willing to take the risk and was ready to challenge them, even despite losing. I'm pretty sure he learned a lot from this tournament.
And it's also somehow, I guess, a bit of luck and bad luck in sense that if, let's say, Magnus didn't play e4, e5 in his game against Alireza and he went e4, c5, we don't know what kind of game would it be and how it would end. And it would be like maybe Firouzja would win this tournament, right, in the sharp game. But in the opening phase, when he got already into tricky position and he combined all these plans, which he probably knew but didn't know exactly how to react, then he ended up losing in a very one-sided way.
Yeah, this basically shows that he still has a lot to learn, and even by having the chance of still improving his game, he already achieved this result.
Yes.
This already shows that we are talking about someone whom we will be definitely witnessing fighting for the title in the future, but it's too early to think about this. The tournament has also proven and showed that what Alireza needs is to improve further.
And more super tournaments, I guess.
More super tournaments, more work, and especially in the openings, because now that he challenged the top players to such fight, he understood that how much he lags behind them in this sense. Very good. I mean, he understands this and he knows that he has to work on it.
Exactly. And let's get back to Magnus's game. I guess there is no development yet. No, he just played the move. What happened?
A3 is played and King F4.
Okay, so
and look at
we have some change.
Leslie is extremely nervous. At least that's how it feels, because I mean, just half an hour ago, few moves back.
Yeah, he was blitzing out all these moves and he himself went into this endgame.
Yeah, I mean, feeling wise it was that, okay, that's just completely draw, and all of a sudden this is at least very tricky.
Yep. So I guess now one has to take the pawn, or how can we defend it? We cannot defend it. Okay, he can play rook f8 still.
That I feel already so exhausted after the end of the tournament that I would not love to be to answer such question, because simply the thing is that you feel that it should be draw, but it's tricky one.
Yeah.
And just look at the position here.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
But you remember I was telling you that little bit jokingly that why should you exchange the A pawn for the C pawn? The C pawn is more useful in this regard. Exactly. Of course, the position was a dead draw, so it didn't really make any sense. But everything that happened afterwards, I mean, here also it looked like it will be time to shake hands.
Yeah.
If white would have taken on c7, and after rook takes a2 would have played king f4, I think the game would have just ended in a draw. And for some mysterious reasons, Wesley decided to continue blitzing.
And we have interview with Alireza Firouzja.
Alireza, your first Tata Steel Chess Tournament is over. Are you satisfied with your result?
Of course, I was satisfied before the 3 games that I lost. I played very good chess, but okay, after that, I played 3 interesting games actually, so I should learn from them. And
Because what do you need to improve to compete with people like Caruana and Carlsen?
yes, because I think the only way to improve is to play long games with them and see how they play. So this is how it goes.
Hard work.
Yes, of course.
What do you consider your best, most attractive game in the tournament?
Probably with Anish Giri, because he was the highest rated player I ever won, so it was an interesting game. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
I didn't hear the last part.
Some painful memories. Yeah.
Painful memories. Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I also felt like if as a 16-year-old you are able to beat Anish Giri, this is certainly not a result anyone would have expected. I mean, Anish is not losing a game in a year.
Yeah.
And then exactly Firouzja managed to beat him. It was a sensational result.
And rook h5 is on the board, not letting king f3 so easily. And if rook h5, rook a1, Magnus just wants to collect. Maybe I can go a4.
Yeah, he can. I mean, what I'm not liking that, okay, black has all the freedom in the position whatsoever, and with this shouldered king, you might be entering some theoretical draw, because even with the shouldered king it's draw, but it's difficult, it's not automatic, and you certainly don't want to put yourself into such trouble that at all any questions arising from this. Yeah, I think let's just keep an eye on this position, and let's discuss some other game, because this is not, it's more dramatic than really interesting. Yeah, a4 is
a4.
I mean dramatic because it looked like the players will shake hands, and all of a sudden we see some tension here.
Yeah, a4, rook a2, boxing the king.
And the game is on.
Yeah.
The game continues.
Interesting. Still very interesting. Let's take a look at nothing really happened in Fabi's game. Jeffrey's game is pretty interesting because white managed to completely control the b6 square, and the knights are already on c4 and a4. Black needs to create some counterplay on the king side, no?
Well, that's
Or
one thing. The other
center.
thing is that his knight from c8 via a7, b5 jumps to d4.
Yeah.
This is the typical stuff, and I wanted to mention here after a4, bishop g4 was played, that knight d2 takes, queen c7, a5, that whenever white plays a5, black has the idea that he activates the knight via c8, a7, b5, and that's one of the reasons why black wants to capture back with the knight on b6 in order to fight for the c4 square, and after a5 be ready to play knight c8. And here I do, when I see a4 bishop g4 happening, I have a memory that in 97 I played in Colombia in a round robin tournament. I have enjoyed my time immensely in Colombia. I mean, it was just fantastic, and I played against a 2360 or 2380 guy called Gamboa, and he was doing very badly in the tournament, so I felt like with black I should try to win, and I played the banker gambit, and I went for this takes, and against a4 for bishop g4, And my opponent, I think, went something like h3 takes. And first I was very happy that I managed to disbalance.
Yeah.
And later on I did not manage to create the slightest winning chances. In fact, I felt like I'm a little bit worse and I had to settle for a draw. And that's my memory.
Comes back, yeah.
That when I played actually I was playing the Banker Gambit here in Vaikanzi in 93 when I first played the higher group.
It's pretty risky.
I played against Akopyan and I played in some other games as well. In Groningen tournament I beat Van Wely one of the years with the Banker Gambit, so it was kind of one of my weapons back then.
Yeah, and Queen B7 was played. It's also a nice way because maybe black wants E6 at some point to keep an eye on D5 pawn.
Okay, E6 I'm not sure because then also the pawn on D6 will be weak. But
yeah.
what I feel that black decided that he wants to keep an eye on the B6 square, so knight C8 remains for the moment, and maybe he wants to go Queen B5, getting the light squares and those eyeing for the spin. A lot of maneuvering. It's not the typical Banker Gambit. I mean, why I was hesitant because there is the way of calling it a Banker Gambit and the Volga Gambit.
Yeah.
And
Volga and Banker.
usually the Hungarians always call it Banker Gambit, of course, yeah. But there was and there is probably still a heavy discussion how it should be called.
Indeed, and let's remind our viewers about the contest that we have. A water bottle, a very pretty one signed by Magnus Carlsen, and other one went to the guy who answered the question correctly, who was Magnus Carlsen's 64th opponent while he's unbeaten streak, and another one will go to the subscriber who is not yet subscribed to Chess.com's channel, so he will get a bottle signed with Magnus Carlsen's signature if he subscribes to our channel today. He or she, that's true. So good luck, guys. It's a very nice bottle. And you want to have Magnus's signature, right?
Yeah, and connected with the Save the Planet
Yeah.
program, it sounds really cool.
Exactly. Okay. Shall we go to challengers?
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump first to the game between Lucas Van Forest and David Anton Guijarro. What has happened? Things have heated up. See some kings Indian structure, however with much less pieces. What does that mean? So after knight bc3, knight d4, this is where castles we left it off, and Anton thought that he should try to change everything, and he takes on e2, takes f5, f6, queen h4, so he tries to put pressure on the e4 pawn.
Yeah.
But what is this? I mean, in general, how to create winning chances for black, or is black at all trying to create winning chances, or he wants to make sure that nothing seriously wrong happening with his position?
The one thing I can say that the usual King's Indian attack probably will not be good in this position as black lacks pieces, right? Like there is no bishop on c8, and once this bishop is gone from c8, the g5, g4 never works. Without light squared bishop, the attack is not successful.
And also already the c file is open.
Yeah, c file is open. So f4, g5 would be bad idea.
Yeah, it's clear that it's kind of some strategical fight.
Yeah.
And black puts pressure on the e4 pawn and probably is willing to trade the bishops, the dark square bishop with bishop h6. So.
But so far, I think Lucas is doing well as he has much more time on the clock. David Anton spent a lot of time. He only has 35 minutes left, and it's only move 16. Players get additional time control on move 40, 50 minutes, but they are yet very far from that.
Yeah, but on the other hand, this is a trademark of David Anton. He always takes his time in the opening.
Yeah.
and he is willing to take into account that he will be a little bit done on time, but he is used to this, and he has proven himself already in many tournaments that time is not the decisive factor in his games.
Though he probably will try his best to take the most out of his game, because if he wins this one, then he will win the challengers group and he will qualify to masters. But if he does not win and if he draws this one, then we have great matchups between Pavel Elyanov and there is a result. No more torture in Magnus Carlsen Wesley So game.
For you?
No more torture. For me, Peter, for me.
Yeah, so okay, finally Wesley has
Found the
given
way.
up because he simply had to activate his rook.
Yeah.
And this is the famous starting checking from the distance. And the game finished in a draw. 52 moves after all.
+2 for Wesley, +3 for Magnus.
Yeah.
And
So
he
this
said
case
in the
then-
interview,
Then a second place is guaranteed
Yeah.
for Magnus.
So we have first, second, and third place, I think, also guaranteed.
Okay, I think Wesley can be catched by, for example, if Jordan wins, then
Oh
he
yeah,
can get
Jordan
to
has-
+2. But this
yeah.
is one scenario
Yeah.
you don't even want to think about.
Well,
I mean, in this sense, then Jordan would have to beat Anish Giri with the black pieces.
yeah, that would not be pleasant for me to witness during live commentary, but okay, it's a chess game.
Yeah, and talking about that game, let us jump there, because
Yeah.
you remember after knight d2, queen b6, we thought that it's a tricky situation, and how will Anish deal with it? He finally went for b4 knight c4 and giving up the light square. Bishop takes, playing king g1. It's an indication that
I want to take now.
but also
And
wow,
another draw.
another draw. Let us jump right there. What has happened?
Another draw.
Nothing dramatic had happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already also a typical scenario when the players
It's
are
last round.
not really fighting for anything. You are completely exhausted. You are dissatisfied. You don't feel like taking too much risk.
Yeah.
If suddenly you are presented with a chance and you have a nice position, you can torture your opponent. Definitely you will.
Yeah.
But here it also kind of felt like it's pretty empty. And this endgame was agreed to a draw. And back to Anish game, because here I feel lot of is at stake. In fact, the question then, can Jordan try to catch Wesley on +2? And the other question is, can Anish maybe beat Jordan and get to +1 score?
And
And
we have
be the-
interview of Magnus Carlsen.
Made mistake.
Oh.
Disappointing game?
No, I mean, to be honest, today I was okay with the draw. I mean, disappointments, if any, were 2 days before. So before the last rest day, I felt like I had legitimate hopes of contending for first, and then last 2 days it all sort of fell apart. So today didn't have much to play for. Obviously, I wouldn't have particularly minded if he wanted to fight, but I don't think he particularly did, and in that case, just I thought like second place is better than third at the very least.
Okay, but then in a sort of draw is ending. The game goes on for quite a while. Is it that you refuse to offer the draw?
No, I mean I thought he just made a silly mistake by playing h6 there, and
There was something.
no, I mean I think I'm very slightly better. So yeah, I mean if you feel like you have 1% equity of winning the game, you should continue at least a little bit, and I mean why not just torture him a bit.
And that's what you did. Thank you.
Yeah, and for Magnus Carlsen, it's not even 1%, but if he has a chance to win a game with 0-0-1, he will try, and that's correct.
Yeah, for sure. And he called this h5 h6 move a silly mistake, as we already pointed out as well. I mean, why on earth would you make life difficult for yourself?
Yeah.
Because yes, it is a dead draw, but it's less completely dead than just if you take on c7 and after rook c7, rook a2, king f4, you look at each other. There is no way your eyes will not catch each other. I mean, there is just nothing to fight for.
Yeah.
But after a6 gh, you feel like you can get up from the board and you can make another 20 moves and play with your opponent's nerves,
Yeah,
who
black
will be
never
really
risks.
kicking himself like, how on earth did I make this
Yes.
mistake and why?
Exactly. And yeah, we were talking about Anisha's game.
Yeah, how to evaluate this? Because I feel this is very double-edged.
I don't like it
I
for
mean,
white.
Usually we have respect for the two bishops, no? I mean, king g1, queen a6, rook a1, b5, knight f3. At least it feels risky.
I don't like what he's doing. I think he would love to be with black pieces here. It's a bit passive.
Yeah, but very tricky. I mean, very,
Yeah.
very tricky because, yeah, on one side, if black gets the long diagonal and everything ready, then one can argue that it's risky, but
Yeah.
white does have this very nice knight on c3 blockading the pawn. White has some d4, d5 breaks ready. For example, if black plays bishop c6, then
With knight d4, yeah?
maybe white can play d4, d5, and after sacrificing this pawn by destroying black's pawn structure, I mean, if black would, for example, take this pawn, I go knight d4, and
Yeah.
who is better and why?
Yeah. Queen b6.
Queen b6 played, yeah, it's a very nice
Not queen b7, but queen b6.
move. First of all, it might be preparing a6 to stabilize the structure. Another idea is to break with a5,
Yeah.
the pawn on b4.
So that's why queen b6 and not queen b7, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. This
It's
might be
double-edged.
sharp, yeah.
This is a typical Dutch duel. I mean, I do remember when King Luke van Wiel was playing in this tournament and he was playing with Jan Tillman, or also King Luke versus Anish Giri.
Yeah.
I mean, those games were full of spice, a lot of prestige at stake.
Yeah.
And I feel that this one is also going to be a real sharp battle now.
Yeah, and we have just 3 games left in Masters group.
Because also Duda and Anand drew their game, yeah?
Drew their game, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this endgame that, yeah, black is just way too solid how to pose any problems.
But in fact, they just offered draw. And
Yeah,
They
it's
just
just a
accepted.
lockdown. There is just nothing to be done.
Yeah,
So
and we have Fabiano's game once again, who already won the tournament, but why not to try?
well, and also for Artemiev, he also thinks that I have lost 3 games with the black pieces, and with white I'm +3. So obviously he is very happy when he plays with the white pieces. But he didn't seem to have really got anything out of the opening. On the other hand, it's a quiet position. White can just continue playing. Queen b3, one
Trade
can
it.
argue that now that the light square bishops are exchanged, black's pawn on b5 is slightly loose, but black protects it, and the question how to increase the pressure. Knight c4, bishop e7, king g1 had been played. Black has all kinds of ideas, activating the knight from d7 via e5 to c6, heading to the d4 square, after which if it lands there, white would have some headache.
Then black is the one, but still black needs to lose to make moves, and it wouldn't be so easy.
Yeah, and
Probably.
also once the knight gets to c6, white only needs a move knight f3, hindering knight d4, and then one can argue that okay, this is nothing. It does feel equal. Yeah, it does feel really equalish to me.
Yeah, and another game is Jeffrey Shunk against Yu Yangyi against Jeffrey Shunk. Nothing much happened in this one, but knight landed on b6.
Yeah, knight a4, queen b7, bishop c6, knight a7, knight a b6, knight c8 back. I'm only worried not to see some repetition here because chess-wise, strategically-wise, knight a4, knight a7, there are all arguments why a move repetition is possible.
Yeah.
On the other hand, also, this is a position where white can easily think that, okay, maybe I don't have any advantage, but I have a playable position.
Yeah.
So there is no reason to...
Not to play.
Yeah.
Exactly. What is the chance actually that today all Masters games end in 7 draws?
Well, the chances are quite high. I would say that my real hope is that in Anish Giri, Jordan
Something
Conference,
will happen.
something will happen. I'm not sure if this is something you look forward to,
Yeah.
because it can go either way.
Yeah.
I mean, the position is really such that this is now a big fight, and we have seen some real developments in that game, because probably that's the game of the day right now.
Yeah.
And after queen b6, Anish felt like I have to break with e4, and Jordan also breaks with the
a5.
with a5 on the queen side. So lot at stake here.
Tricky. I don't know. Looks very tricky.
Very tricky, yeah. I mean, it kind of looks also quite nice for white, yeah. After this e4 break.
Does it? I'm really scared. I'm really scared to see like what's going on queen side and.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, white also. If Anish would be playing on the black side, you would have also all the rights to be nervous. Because, yeah, I think so. On the other hand, this is now a really big question. Should white simply ignore this b4 pawn and, for example, try to take ef with the idea that if ef I'm gonna jump in with knight e5? We see.
But if he takes ab.
Yeah, after ef ab, but this is also extremely scary. I mean, ab, for example, if I just take back ab, you take
I
bishop b4.
Add some checks.
I mean, there are all kinds of checks. This is madness.
Check, rook g7. Do I really need this check?
Well,
I don't know, but that's definitely the game of the round.
It's a heated battle. Lot of calculation required. I somehow feel a bit surprised that Jordan has answered e4 so quickly by e5. It means that he must have calculated it already before, because otherwise, to understand what is really happening here, it's not easy at all.
That is true.
Now, obviously, we are having much bigger dramas in the challengers group.
Yes,
because
let's go to challengers.
The big question is who will qualify, and we already talked about David Anton Giharos' chances. He's leading the tournament, but there is a very big game by Pavel Ayanov versus Ervin Lamy. Ervin Lamy, who has played an incredible, solid and very powerful tournament, is on +3, undefeated so far.